YouTube, it's Brian Phillips, really with the Micro Draco today. Amazing, beautiful, and big. Keep in mind, guys, this is a lot bigger than an Ultra Micro. That's why it's called a Micro, because it's not Ultra Micro. Beautiful scale details all around, huge battery hatch, 4S or 3S compatible. We will be showcasing it on 4S, which is what you guys are gonna be using too, because you're gonna follow the links in the video description below to buy one. Special thanks to Mike Patey for putting this beautiful thing to the rest of the universe to enjoy. And even though it's made an untimely demise, we're looking forward to the Draco X. So guys, get one from the link. Check out that huge elevator and then huge rudder. We have lights all over this thing, but since it's so bright, we may not see them very good. And just go ahead and squish my pair. Oh yeah, beautiful. And spring loaded. Beautiful plastic details, 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 details. That wasn't actually a detail, but it's red and it matches perfectly. By the way, I'll just point out that control horn. And then the handles for getting in and out. Super cool, amazing things. We've got all these amazing little counterweights and stuff like this. Lights, wing scrapers, huge flaps. By the way, they are functional flaps. Tail supports on the horizontal stab and ball links on all the primary control surfaces. So stinking cool. Of course, the flaps just have this linkage so everything can be internal. Beautiful setup. We're gonna go over it in our unbox build radio setup, but without further ado, we could not take this off from the runway because this is, after all, a bush plane. All right, guys, here goes nothing. Throttle cuts off, takeoff flaps deployed. Look, this is unkept grass. Look at that, absolutely no problems getting off the ground in no time at all. Oh my goodness.
That is so cool.
Look at my throttle position. I'm less than 50%. Boom! That thing is just all about it. It is just doing everything that the big Draco does, only smaller. And by the way, if you guys didn't know this thing is smaller than one wing of the Draco, okay? And if you guys are looking for something you can just tool around with, this thing is gonna be perfect. But then if you wanna go and do crazy stuff, you can still do that too. Huge wingspan, good roll rate, that's 75% roll. Very good elevator authority, very snappy, responsive behavior, even in the wind. Let's do a little pull dance for the people. Everybody comes to Brian Phillips RC for pull dances, as you know. If you didn't know that, where have you been? Just kidding, guys. There is a huge elevator correction, elevator compensation at 34% on full deployment. It's amazing. That's a lot of deployment. We're 24% on takeoff flaps and 34% on landing flaps. 2-second deployment speed and absolutely tremendous flight characteristics. Upside down flight is better than the big one, but it is still kind of the same feel, which is really weird because I figured it'd be even better since it's a relatively light plane now. Sub 250 if you use the suggested battery. So be careful, there is a big hole. And if you stick something too big in it, you may put it overweight, okay? So just keep in mind, if you're trying to stay compliant with sub 250, watch the battery choice. Full landing flaps all the way down. And we gotta say, we have been dying to see this thing. We've known about it for some time, but have been being good boys and girls. That would be myself and my camera crew, my wonderful wife of many years. And we really appreciate that Mike Patey shared this thing with the world. We do have a manned aircraft close by. We're just kind of paying attention to where it is, just full disclosure. It is way behind us, probably a mile away, but they're doing something weird. CG comes out right on the wing spar, folks. Oh, and by the way, if you're curious how much flight time you have left, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and turn on safe here. Okay, so I put mine on D switch. We'll show you how to do that. There it is, auto leveling itself, full landing flaps. We're gonna slow it down, point it into the wind and just let go. Point it down, let go. Point it down again. You see what I'm talking about? Look at those lights. You can see them on the bottom of the wing. Check this out, guys. Even in the daylight, you can see the 4 little white lights. So dang cool. So now that we're in safe, I'm gonna just look right over here and see my telemetry. And you can see, you probably can't see, but I can see, there's all sorts of helpful information. If you guys are brand new to the hobby and you wanna get something that is really dang cool, then I would suggest the 700 millimeter Apprentice STOL. Here's why I'm gonna say this, guys. This is a great plane. Buy it, put it on the shelf, look at it. But I would suggest this might be a better second or third plane. If you're talking about small planes, they are more delicate. This is more delicate than the big one, guys. Just so you know, I don't wanna sell this plane for being everything to everybody. It is a heavier, small plane. It flies really dang good, as you can see. It's holding up well to the wind. I'd like a little bit more on the elevator, so I think I'm gonna push my battery back just a hair for the next flight. And I can tell you this, the rudder, it's got rudder, but I'd like a little bit more. So I'm probably gonna go ahead and mix in something extra for my next flights, full landing flaps this time. We're gonna slow it way down. Wind is just kind of variable right now. So as you can see, you can operate this thing in very tight areas, but it's not as fun as developing a flight circuit in a bigger area, okay? So let's go over here to the bowl. So obviously, if you guys are brand new to Brian Phillips RC, you may already know about the pond that we're digging right down here. And so over here where the pond is, you're gonna pick up a lot of big, open, clear spaces, which is super fun. And look how small this thing looks compared to it. We just did the video the other day where we had the full-size Draco. And boy, I tell you what, if you guys haven't experienced the full-size Draco, it is amazing. And I'm gonna just tell you this thing emulates the flight experience very well. Now, is it as good? No, because it's not as huge and expensive. So why would it be as good? It's really close though, and I'm not just exaggerating that because I really am a sucker for the Draco. I think it's a cool plane. I think that this thing is feature packed for a very small plane. It does dang good. Power to weight ratio is a lot worse than some of the smaller UMX planes. And so you need to be aware of that, okay? This thing is not gonna be like the P-51 where you take off and go straight to the moon on 25% throttle. But this thing does very good for its size, its weight, and its look, okay? Also, I just wanna say it's twice as heavy or more than the P-51. The P-51 weighs in just a little bit over 100 grams. This one being close to 250. But you know what? If it's under 250, I really don't care. I am so glad that they squeezed everything in. And as you can see, nice bouncy landings. It'll handle whatever crap you give it because it is a bush plane. Up until the point it won't handle it. And the reason I say that is because chicken coops will destroy your Dracos. I'm just warning you right now. And by the way, I'm gonna go tempt fate. Look at this chicken coop right over the edge. Chicken coop! That is the coop that crashed my other Draco. So guys, if you are brand new to the hobby and you're thinking, but I really, really like the way that looks, it's a super cool, it's kind of a weird plane. If you guys like Wiglas, then I would be surprised. As a new pilot, I probably would have thought, what a weird looking plane, because it's not like a real popular plane. But Mike Patey, of course, has popularized the Wigla. Wiglas are many times used for tow planes and all sorts of other agricultural uses, as far as I understand, but they're not used around here as much. And what a sweet plane, though. This is so much fun, guys. I am loving the scale characteristics of this plane, if nothing else. There's a 30% takeoff. Oh, man, that wind picked up something fierce. Crosswind takeoffs with Dracos would have been the demise of the full-scale bird. And by the way, thank God that everybody got out of that crash safely. I mean, other than, you know, some scratches in flesh and pride. But I'll tell you what, guys, this thing does really good. It is a big high wing, so keep that in mind if you're dealing with crosswind, folks, because crosswind is not gonna be your friend with these higher, more tipsy planes. So just keep that in mind. It flies really nice, so I gotta say it's tame enough And it's not like gonna get into unrecoverable circumstances, at least not that I've found yet. And admittedly, we have some terrible weather coming in the next few days. So we are very, 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 very happy. There are some ultra low warning that just came up. Did you hear it?
I heard that was a weird beep.
Yeah, that's the critically low alarm. So here we go. Let's see if we can get a good landing here for the people. Oh, and by the way, I gotta say, that was not a very good landing. We're gonna go ahead. I am curious why I'm not, oh, there's our telemetry. I was just one screen too far over. So 4.3 min max. Oh, there's our receiver voltage. I don't know, we'll play with that and probably show it when we can, because right now I evidently don't have it set up right. I think I might have interrupted the auto config. So we'll show that in the unbox build radio setup in its entirety. Now, assembly on this aircraft is very easy, very fast, very limited, and you'll want to watch it. One screw, guys, one. Talk about giving us what we want. LEDs, flaps, a big squishy pair. What more can you ask for? So all I'm gonna say is one screw, guys.
I know.
Now, the only thing better than one screw is zero. But you get big like this,
Yep.
If you put that in a box, the box would be gigantic. So thank you, Horizon, for doing one screw to save on shipping costs, because guess what happens, people? If you haven't connected the dots, the stuff they're paying for gets passed on to you and I as consumers. And let's just say this plane is sweet, you want it bad. Check it out in the links of the video description below. I can definitely tell she is getting tame as the battery gets dead, but I'm not gonna dead stick land this unless I have to. And it's feeling like I might have to here pretty quick. So I'm gonna take one more landing, see if I can get this a little bit better. What a gorgeous, gorgeous plane. Now you may be noticing the absence of thrust reverse. I noticed that too. And so if there's one complaint, and it's hardly a complaint, would be we don't have thrust reverse. Now I'm gonna just say this right now. I'm gonna forgive you for no thrust reverse because I don't need it on this plane, but on the big one, I need it and I use it. So if there's a way to turn it on, we will figure it out and we will share it right here on Brian Phillips RC. We hope you guys enjoyed the footage. This thing is absolutely gorgeous, and I don't know that I stated it enough. If you like the Draco, but you don't have room for the big boy, get this thing, okay? You will really like it. It's not the cheapest UMX. I think everybody sort of understands that. You'll understand when you get it out of the package. This reminds me a lot of the SR-71 in that it is absolutely gorgeous, showstopper finish, and yet it flies. And this thing, I would say flight characteristics are probably 80% that of the big brother, big sister, whichever one you look at that. And that's pretty dang good for an ultra micro, okay? Because there's not many ultra micros that can do that, okay? This thing does what it does it really well. Maybe 85, 90%, depends on how calm or how windy it is. You can see we've got variable winds because it's dead calm right now. But of course, while we're flying around, it's like gusting around and we're getting updrafts and shear and stuff like that. But this thing handles it well, okay? When you get this out of the box, you're gonna be like, holy crap, look how long the wing is. Yeah. This is huge. This is not an ultra micro, folks. It is a micro, okay? So it's small, but it's not that small. Also, I just want to point out the fact that these are not actually leading edge slats. On the full scale, or excuse me, the 2 meter Draco, you get that. Also, quick removable wings, clip, clip. That is before you hit the chicken coop. After the chicken coop, the glue will hold it together. But I gotta say, awesome product. Don't forget, you wanna get the 4S battery. It is an unusual brand new offering, JST. So we get good current transfer and then micro, it's not a micro pH, it's a Hextronics bounce lead. Yep, so that would be a 4S battery. So of course there's 5 wires on it. Fits really nice. I'll show you how to make my little battery holster thing so that I don't have to apply the Velcro to just one pack, because I've got 2 packs right now, and I know many of you guys are gonna have more than one. Also, auto leveling and safe. As you can see, auto leveling and huge flaps, guys. This plane really, truly has everything you want, except for maybe thrust reverse, which is a fun feature, but on ultra micros, it's a whole lot less necessary. Because even on this 37-foot wide approach, you should be able to take off and land all day long. But it's a bush plane. If you really need to have a tight landing, just put it down in grass. You'll be fine, okay? Now this stuff is admittedly coming straight out of winter, okay? So it's not really well kept. If it was well kept, if you're taking off from one of these manicured places, okay, so I'm getting my voltage alarm, okay? So we don't even have a timer set for this thing because we have telemetry. That's what's so nice about these things, guys. It's like all the features we've been begging for years, squeezed into one beautiful package. Yes, these are squishable tires. It's just, I love it. So guys, if you haven't already got one, get one ordered or pre-ordered, depending on when you're looking at this video. And if you have the budget for the big one, get the big one, okay? I'm just gonna tell you this. This thing, for anybody that has the big Draco, is an amazing novelty item, and you're gonna want one, even if you have the big Draco. I'm not just saying that, guys. I love the big Draco. The big Draco is a super fun to fly plane, but it has certain impracticalities because it's so big.
Right.
So many of you can't afford the space, even if you've got, the budget for it. This thing is a great, great alternative, okay? Now, when they come up with a middle-sized one, Horizon, wink, wink, nod, nod, then we will be very excited to review that one too. But I gotta say, this thing is just beautiful. I mean, look at the shape of the wing. Something so cool as that. Like, you don't get that on planes right now. It's so neat. You get all the engineering that Mike Patey put into this beautiful bird that was pretty much redesigned from the ground up. It kind of looks like a Wiggler, but he redid like most of it. And if you want to find out more about that, just check out Mike Patey's channel. He's going to show you all the stuff in great detail, and then you can just be amazed and thrilled at all the technology, science, and effort that went into making this beautiful bird. So amazing, super cool. You guys got it here first on Brian Phillips RC, or third or fifth, or whatever it is. I mean, who's counting? But we definitely love this thing. So check it out. Links in the video description below. If you want to help support Brian Phillips RC, look no further than that. Also Patreon, PayPal, YouTube super thanks, YouTube members. Thanks if you're members, guys. We appreciate you. We don't say it enough, but that's truthfully really helpful. But, and I'm going to say this like I always do, we'd rather you buy planes. If you want to support us financially, buy the planes. If you want to support us on some other side thing, that's fine. If your wife is threatening to leave you, just let her know about the stakes in the basement. It's no big deal. UPS can go around to the back door. It's no big deal. But just remember, the beer truck could take you out tomorrow. So get the Draco today. That's all we got to say. Amazing. Great job, Horizon. Thanks, Mike, for letting them laser scan your plane. I would go ahead and laser scan all the rest of them while you're at it, please. That'd be great. All right. Thanks for watching. Scrappy next. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. The time has come. The clickbait is over. Sorry, the wait is over. Here it is. It's the Ultra Micro, except it's not Ultra Micro. It's just Micro, guys. There's been a lot of talk of this. It's just Micro. It's not Ultra Micro. You'll understand in a minute. Here it comes, guys. Here it comes. Super excited, super excited. Here it is. Oh, it's Mike Patey. I always love it when he's on the boxes. It's the Micro Draco, 800 millimeters, as opposed to more than twice as big, 2 meters. That's huge. If you guys haven't experienced the Draco, you'll want to experience this. And I say that specifically to you that are watching this and thinking, I would love the big Draco, but I either can't afford it, can't fit it, can't take it apart. Yeah, those are really the only two excuses, because here's the thing, this thing is gonna be awesome. So check it out. It is a skill level 2, which means that you're gonna have to have a little bit of flight experience. But the truth is, with SAFE and AS3X, you're gonna be able to fly this if you have limited flight experience, but it is definitely going to be more demanding than some of the other Ultra Micros that we've seen in the past. You can see the size right there next to Allie. And then back here on the back, you can see the full size Draco. This is before it met its untimely demise. And Mike Patey and his wife are building, well, I guess Mike is building it. I don't know if his wife is building it. But he's building a brand new Draco right now, which is pretty sweet. So get the laser scanner ready, Horizon, because we want it. And some other cool things like Scrappy. All right, without further ado, here it comes. It is inside of one box here. As you can see, Ultra Micros would come fully assembled. And by the way, this plane is big enough that if you had it in an Ultra Micro box, it'd be pretty huge. So thank you for making it relatively simple install. Okay, so let's take this thing out. Now, normally I wouldn't be taking this out in an Ultra Micro application because it would be inside of the box fully assembled. So we can lay this aside. I am gonna keep this box. I'm not sure how hard it's gonna be to build this thing. And so we'll put this in the background so you can see that beautiful mug right there. Actually, we'll just put it over here. Beautiful. And inside the package, what's contained? Obviously, we have a manual. And I'm just gonna cut this out. And one of the reasons we really like the Horizon Hobby products, of course this is an E-flite product, is because you get a nice manual. So let's pop this open. What you wanna do is when you get into your manual, you wanna look, this is gonna tell you what type of batteries you can use right away, okay? So it looks like you can use, for an optional battery, 11.1 volts. I don't know why they don't just say 3S, but it is 11.1 volts nominal voltage, 300 milliamp, 30C.
But the recommended
is 4S. Okay, so then over here we've got our assembly instructions, and this is what I wanted to point out, the NX series setup. Keeping in mind that you may not have an NX series, but it's gonna be super similar if it's not. And that's one of the hallmarks on Brian Phillips RC. But I know you wanna see this thing, so let's talk about batteries. I have my batteries ready to go because I'm super excited. Okay, so right here, we've got the 300 4S. We actually got this a few days ahead, so I was super excited and did my normal prep work, which looks like this. This would be the optional one, which is 3S. And you'll notice that they both have the JST ends. And so don't forget, if you're using a smart charger like what we use, you do have to have some sort of an adapter to go into the IC3. Well, I guess you could go into the IC5, it'd be pretty dumb, but you could do that. So make sure you don't forget to pick up one of these. You probably already have it though. This is what it looks like if you do a worse job, because it's more sloppy, and then I just use the provided Velcro. So we'll get to that eventually. But if you guys want to keep away from having Velcro attached in always the wrong spot, you can do this, and then you can actually spin that Velcro to the correct position on the battery, okay? So depending on if it's flat or vertical, now you could also just put Velcro or hook and loop on both sides or all sides of the battery, but my experience is it always ends up needing to be the other way from whatever you did, and it drives me crazy. Okay, that's true for big and small batteries. Okay, so if you're gonna charge this, I'll just show you how it works. I'm gonna turn on my smart charger now. If you really wanna go crazy on adapters, this is actually a smart lead that goes down to an IC2, which is something that we've seen on only a couple of different helis that had a small battery. In fact, we have one right here. And you can see that it's a 453S that has the smart lead, okay? So this is an actual smart battery, and look how much bigger it is than a non-smart battery. This is a 4S, look at that size comparison. 300, 450, because you have to have that smart chip
in there.
So basically, this thing actually has smart tech. This is made by Spectrum, so they look like they're smart, but they're not, okay? At some point, I think we are going to get some smart batteries in there, which will be nice, because I love the penetration of this connector over a JST. But I love the JST connector penetration way better than a Micro PH, which we just reviewed, a heli that used a Micro PH. By the way, that board, just saying, wouldn't be that hard to put that JST onto the receiver board of that heli. Just saying. Not saying I did it yet, but I'm just saying. So if you were to charge this, you can use this, and that's kind of a fancy way of doing it, because then you kill two birds with one stone, or one adapter in this case. So you plug it in, you get your balance lead plugged in. This is a 4S, so it's got 5 wires attached, And then what you'll do is you'll just, of course, land your JST connector. And then you can see the live voltage. I already had mine charged, of course. Go over a little further, please. You're gonna press, and since this is a non-smart battery, you have to set what the actual values are. And then once you set what the actual values are, then you can just hit start and it'll start charging, okay? Now, also full disclosure, when you charge batteries, whether it be 3 or 4S or 2S, because that's what we have for a lot of the ultra micros and the micro size planes, unless of course you're talking about that thing or the F14, which are kind of like considered to be micro. These things will go crazy with the cooling fan. As soon as it's done charging, it's at 98%. So you're gonna hear like the Facebook data center start going. And it's just gonna be like cooling fans everywhere. And that's because you're charging at such a small rate that it has to discharge a little bit of the unspent power. Okay, all right, getting back to the unbox. So without further ado, I know you're probably thinking to yourself, how do you do it, Brian? How do you wait to unbox that thing when you talk about stupid batteries? That's because here's the thing. This is the Unbox Build Radio setup. You guys have probably already seen the flight. Okay, so we have a singular screw, one screw. That's good.
The best sack I've ever seen.
Listen to the Facebook data center. It's coming.
No, not yet. It'll be here.
Well, I'll go over there and give you guys a listen to it here pretty soon.
It's my favorite.
And it's actually really annoying.
It's really annoying.
But it's necessary and annoying, okay? So it looks like we might have got a PD sample here because we have lots of extra tape, which is okay, guys. We don't care. We just want to make sure we give you guys, oh, Draco 800 millimeter. That's so cool.
In the phone.
In it. Okay, sweet. All right. It's beeping again. Must be done. So we're going to pull the foam to protect the foam from the foam. Ooh, there's lots of antennas and stuff on here. Oh, I can't wait. It's getting so close, guys. Really, really, really excited for this Draco. And if you guys haven't seen, we do have our full Unbox Build Radio setup and all of the subsequent videos for the big Draco right here on Brian Phillips RC. You don't have to wait. They're available right now. And we did, admittedly, may have accidentally tricked a few of you totally on purpose with our video from the other day. Oh yeah, that is so gorgeous. Oh my goodness. It's so, oh boy, what do we have here? Look at this. We have lights. We have these things. These things are skids that go on the ground. They were installed. They were installed. That's so nice. We didn't even have to put that in. They could have put it in the nut and bolt sack. And as you can see, we have this special fancy dance cable. And interestingly enough, it's totally unique to this plane. And what that has is a breakout board for all the lights and the servo action up here. That is a different long throw linear servo than I've seen before. It's got a larger gear set here, okay? Must be for the additional torque necessary to drive those huge flaps. And also there are adjustments similar to what we've seen, so do not break that thing. I'm sure it'd be a pain to replace. Good thing about these planes is if you need replacement parts, you can technically get them for most of the time. However, one word of warning, when you are buying E-flite products, you'll be able to get parts, but you're gonna have to buy like a whole assembly on a lot of these ultra micro and micro size planes. So get ready to break out the walls. So maybe don't like hit chicken coops and stuff. Okay, anyway, not that I know anything about that. All right, so as you can see, also pluggable servos, folks. That is new and awesome. So if you are talking about serviceability, better than it's been in the past. Now let's talk about stiffness. There's definitely some movement, but it's very strong this direction, okay? This thing looks absolutely fantastic. Tons of scale details. However, I am gonna point out another detail I just noticed. This is not a leading edge slat like it is on the full scale, real deal 2 meter, okay? So there is actually an opening where the air will pass under this. This is just molded to kind of look like the outside dimension, but you still get this beautiful wingtip sharklet sort of thing, which is definitely not on a Wiggler, but it's on this thing. Okay, now if you guys didn't know, the Draco is basically started from a Wiggler, and then Mike Patey designed and engineered and did all sorts of other stuff. Lots of foam to protect the foam from foaming here. And then he ended up with this. Guys, what is going on? Where's the rest of the pieces? Oh yeah, that's right. There aren't any more. It's a total of 3 pieces, guys. We have a screw and then a wing and a fuse. Amazing. Okay, so as you can see in here, we've got the Ultra Micro multi-purpose brick right here. I'm gonna bring it over. We're gonna keep it in the light, camera crew. See this? Servos separated, servos separated. Okay, so that is for the elevator and rudder, and it looks like we have the linkages in alignment, so we're gonna get good mechanical behaviors. And ball links, yes, there is I believe that's a 1.5 millimeter. Let's check on that. If you need to get into your ball links, this thing isn't going into like data center mode. What the heck?
No, it's not.
It always does that too. It's super. I made a whole point about it today.
It's worse when there's 2 batteries plugged in.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to plug another one in so people don't think we're full of crap. This is 1.5 millimeters, okay? So 1.5 millimeters, that's gonna get you into the drive there. Now, this is not a flashy light, and this is not a light because the link between these two mechanically is just a foam pinch hinge with relief, which is surprising. I don't see any material in there. I'm pretty sure there isn't any material in there. So some of you guys aren't gonna like that, and I don't blame you. But right here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 points. If there is an interior hinge to that, if somebody else watching this video has crashed theirs and learned that, please do let me know. I'm not gonna break it just to tell. But we have a leading edge here. That little assembly there looks totally sweet. You guys see that? That's like a little, I don't know what the heck that is. It's like it's a reverse slat or something.
It's plastic,
that's just part of the horizontal stabilizer, or excuse me, the elevator, and not the horizontal stabilizer. So I don't know if that would be considered like a trim tab, but obviously that's gonna be custom to this, designed by Mike Patey. And then steerable tail wheel with spring-loaded and squishy tire. We've got some wing struts here, which is super cool in this vertical ventral fin, if you will. Whatever that thing is, it's probably an antenna in real life. Huge landing gear, huge, folks. We've got some spreadiness to it. We've got some foot pedals. We've got some spring-loaded shocks. These are not oil filled on the big one, guys. I misspoke because that was something that was supposed to be in production plans, never actually came to fruition, and it was gonna be super expensive. So I think it kind of got cut. Squishy tires, by the way, these are just simulated spring. Spring is actually right here. This is just moving up and down empty to look awesome. But it does exactly that. Also, the prop is just beautiful. And you'll notice that the plane of the prop is flat on the backside and not this way. It's flat like that instead of this, which is weird. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's pre-sprung for strength. And I'm gonna tell you this thing is gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see it in the air. And as you can see, we've got the multi-purpose brick with the ESC leads that go out to the motor here, and then the leads that go down to the battery. And I'm just gonna show you something real quick. When you lay this onto the ground, since we can, I'm gonna push that up. Okay, good. So it just goes straight up. So there is no real like knob that goes in. And just like the big one, you got the huge motor right there. Will look so dang good. And look how huge the battery tray is for a micro style plane. I know what's gonna happen. Somebody is gonna squish a gigantic battery in there. And I'm just saying, when you do squish it in, I thought I had an adapter that we were talking about just a few minutes ago, but I think it was the other way adapter. Because I was thinking if you did have that 450, if you had that 450, you could take that 450. That's so much bigger. I don't know if it'll handle the weight.
Yeah, that's a lot more.
But that's also 3S.
It's a 3S.
So like, I'm not gonna put a 3S in there. I'm gonna go for like a 4S that's huge. Oh, 850, that's so big. I'm just saying, I mean, like if a guy was motivated to, oh, wow.
It's gonna be so heavy.
It's not gonna fit on the nose though, because look, this is so flat. There's like probably, I don't think that's gonna fit. You know people are gonna ask like immediately. So I'm just, the plane could probably handle the weight, but I don't wanna tell you guys to do something that's not recommended, especially not right off the bat. But when we get an opportunity, we'll share it. And we try to share stuff in spec from the manufacturer spec at first, and then we modify from there. All right, so let's build this thing. I know you guys have lots of questions. Show them the exhaust pipes. I know you want to give them a super close-up of my exhaust pipes. Just awkward. Are they broken or do they work? Are they vented?
They're not functional.
They're not functional?
Are they vented?
I don't know.
I don't think they are.
They're not vented
No.
on this one?
Nope.
Okay, so on the big Draco, they are vented. They actually do things.
Oh wait, maybe they are. Maybe I can see light through there.
That's what I was trying to point out to you,
I
and you were
know.
just missing it.
No, that's just darken. It's just a dark hole.
It's just shine the light into the dark hole, camera crew. People want to see in there.
I know, I can tell. I think they do go all the way through, just a little bit.
Okay, let me see.
Okay.
Let me
Here.
see. You want me to show you how to do
You
this?
decide. I'm filming.
I know, but I was just kind of hoping you would do that.
So you just plug the thing into the thing?
Bait and switch did not work, obviously. Yeah, you just plug the thing into the doohickey.
Plug the thing into the
Okay, so
thing.
let's talk about this. First of all, this wing is huge and awesome, okay? Remember,
really big.
ultra micro planes are considerably smaller. I'm just gonna give you an example, okay? This is gonna be a considerably heavier plane, but let's talk about the Waco. Well, actually, we can talk about the Waco. We can talk about this plane is almost as big. The Crescendo is an awesome plane, very light, okay? Very agile, not near as detailed. Waco, amazing plane, very light, still EPS, that's how you get those tight, nice looking lines, and you keep the scale detail, but just look at the difference in size, folks. This is ultra micro, this is not. Ultra micro extreme is ultra to the micro.
And I feel like the Waco is a big UMX.
I think the Waco is a big UMX too, but it's also a biplane, so you got a lot of
Right.
wing surface.
Yep.
And the same is true for the pits. So I know you guys are like, I don't give a crap about any of that. Get that Draco together, Brian.
It's one thing and it takes you
It's-
18 minutes to plug the thing into the thing.
Yeah, that's the way we do it on Brian Phillips RC. But listen, we understand you guys have real questions, or why would you be watching this? Because all I can say is this: the Draco is an awesome plane. We love this stuff. We do it even after the celebrity appearances are over, okay? Because
Right.
we are the RC celebrities. That's why we're such big nerds, okay? All right, so look at this. See this? I've got a push thingy thing there,
Okay.
and I'm gonna stick that into the other thingy there.
Okay.
It's one wire, okay? So you probably can't watch me do this because it's just
one wire, I
it's-
think.
If you can't figure out how to stick this wire in, you're probably in the wrong hobby. But the truth is, it goes and you can press it in with your thumbnail, can press it down, and it snaps distinctly. Now, if you have to take this off to transport this, get a bigger vehicle, for God's sake. This slides in. Watch this. Watch this. Boom. It's in. It's in. The plane is almost built.
I could have done that.
Okay, one screw. I'm trying to be good. I am
What?
trying to be good. This is an early release.
I just said I could have
We're
done
supposed
it.
to be good. We're not supposed to do those
Only
things.
2 parts.
Okay? Nut and bolt sack.
Oh.
Guys,
Is that the 1.5 that you had? Or what is that?
this is a Phillips. Come on, man. Phillips, really? Okay, so we found our first complaint on this plane.
That's a Phillips screw.
It's got a Phillips screw. Why would you put a Phillips? Like, Brian Phillips RC is just,
They just didn't want you to feel
they didn't want me to feel left out.
left out.
I see how this is. That's all right. I'll give you guys credit where credit's due. Good job.
It says, since there's only a few steps, I'm scanning them. It says do not over tighten.
So do you guys want to know how to not over tighten this?
Don't over tighten it.
The reason I say this is because it is important. There is no pucker on that foam, okay? I'm listening. Oh, that thing is tight. Do you want to know why I have it tight?
I do, actually.
I have it as tight as I can go without feeling any or hearing any crushing, because there's plastic components that are up against each other. I'm putting away my knife. I was so excited I didn't even retract my blade.
Jeez.
So the E-flite Draco, the data center's come alive. Show the people the data center. This is what we were talking about, and it tried to make fools of us. Hold on, you guys deserve better. Check this out.
I'll-
No, hold on, no, check this out. Check this out, guys. That's how you know you're a dork. This isn't even purchased. I made that thing. You know, Mike Patey, eat your heart out. Talk about engineering. Dang it, the stopped as soon as I was blathering.
long.
Dang it. Okay. Rode wireless 2 mics. Okay?
That's what we use.
That's how you know
Now
you're
you
a
know.
nerd. Okay, it's anyway, the data center shut off.
That's what we listen to all day long around here.
All day long. You're just talking about me?
The talking?
Thank you. So, guys, a beautiful plane. We got lots of LEDs. We have to do some radio setup before this will be flyable. It's slightly dark. I mean, sometimes we pretend this is Civil Twilight. I mean, sometimes it is Civil Twilight, but tonight it's not gonna be, oh, there are LEDs. Unfortunately, it's a million miles an hour. Maybe we'll get some Civil Twilight video footage some year.
Right.
So we have to set this beautiful thing up. Now, I just want to take this minute to talk about my favorite cow transmitter. I used to make fun of this when it first came out, but I gotta say, it is one of the more prettier things I've ever seen.
And both of our boys think it's the coolest transmitter.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I thought it would get dirty. Well, I haven't been in the pits with like a nitro plane.
Right.
But I gotta say, I'm like really impressed with this for the price. You don't have to have a 10 to make this airplane work. But if you know you're gonna end at a 10, this is Brian Phillips RC saving you money.
That's hilarious.
Anybody who's watching this channel is not laughing at the screen right now has not been watching long enough. What I'm gonna say is the 10 is probably where you need to be minimum, okay? Here's why. Because if you watch my channel, you're gonna be buying planes that take you up to 10 channels, okay? Before we worked with Spectrum, I had a DX18. I never made it over 10 channels, but we're in a different world, people. It's a whole new world.
Yeah, there was no thrust reverse and no...
Okay, but you're gonna get all the stuff you need. Wow, it's just like all excited to see you. So we're gonna put that out of the way. We could set it up on there, but it's got a smaller screen and I'm gonna use the NX10. Okay, so also, I gotta say, I've been looking.
I know you have. You just start throwing those little comments in there.
NX20.
Like when I get an NX20.
It's got a bigger screen.
For my helipad.
It's so much better. Speaking of helipad,
wait.
the Infusion 120.
I gotta go to the other side of you though.
So what we're gonna do is, you know what we should do? We should use our 3S battery. No, let's use our 4S battery because I wanna show the people how this works.
Yeah, we're not gonna go outside.
We need to pause for just a second. Back. The data center's back. You guys should be able to hear this very vigorously. See, that's what you hear, and what it's doing is it's charging to balance the cells. Putting you back in my pocket.
It's not even like full.
Come back to the nerd host.
Okay.
Now listen, if that drives you nuts, just unplug it.
Unplug it.
And then it stops. I promise it won't drive you nuts anymore. Okay, we were paused, going back to paused. So what you wanna do is just grab your giant bag of like Velcro leftovers.
Your garbage bag.
And some tape. This is just run of the mill, nothing special, clear tape, and some scissors, okay? This is a highly technical project.
I can tell.
Okay. First thing you wanna do is look over there while I cut off the safety label. Look over there, look over there. Is there any cats?
No, there are no cats.
Okay,
Where
cut
are
it.
they?
I threw it away. It's kind of,
File that away.
I mean, I read it and understood all the safety
Perfect.
warnings.
Good.
And the FCC warnings. Scissors. Okay, so before we do radio setup, I have to recreate a special thing. Okay, see this? This is what I like to do for my Ultra Micros. Okay, now this is a bigger battery, admittedly, than we've had. It's a new size. I build these things. Okay, you'll notice that there's 2 pieces here. Okay, so you'll get a piece of Velcro with yours. They'll come in a little bag. Okay. What I want to do is I want to show you how to make this, because here's the thing. You can stick Velcro on there all day till the cows come home, if that's a thing. So I'm just going to show you how to do this. You take your battery and you take your tape, and you're going backward here, guys. This is really technical stuff, highly sensitive. If you do this wrong, you might need to take a few minutes and draw out a CAD drawing about this, okay? There you go. Okay, see how I just closed the loop, okay? Now that I've got the loop closed, and it's gonna look like crap because I'm doing it on camera, okay? I'm gonna go back the other way And I'm just gonna stick this down and just get it aligned perfectly. So now the stickum is gonna be onto the top of the other stickum.
The stickum.
Stickum, okay?
Still not a word.
It is a word. There's been ultra geniuses on media have used the word stickum. Ah, dang it, I left some extra stickum exposed. I know, I didn't, I was trying to save money.
How did you not go all the way around?
Look. See that, guys? That's why you do that, because then you can slide that sleeve in and out and position your battery almost exactly. Or you could just use Velcro. Now, because I already cheated and used a little chunk of Velcro, I'm gonna be stuck using this, probably this white chunk, because I cheated, guys.
Is that the right?
I don't know, I'm gonna find out.
Okay.
I'm taking it out of the bag of Stickum stuff. Just gonna slide that out super conveniently. Get that out of the way. So let's take off the lid, the fully assembled Ultra Micro. Okay, see this? Watch this, guys, watch this.
You have the
Oh yeah, oh, it's good stuff. All intertangled and, okay. So now I'm gonna take this. This is from another Ultra Micro. I didn't need it because I made my sleeve. The reason I'm making this sleeve live for you on Brian Phillips RC is because I want you to be able to copy the best things we do.
Usually you switch
Look.
sleeves.
I do, I know, but I've got 2 of these batteries and I want to use both of them and I don't want to have to switch them. But you can switch sleeves and that's why I do that. I like to leave one of the sleeves in the aircraft so that I can slide the battery in, but since this is a unique size, man, this is like hard to take off of there. What a pain in the butt. Are we gonna have to pause while I pull my backing
I would
off?
help you with fingernails, but I'm holding the camera.
Okay, we might pause. We'll come back when I get the backing. Watch this. Okay, so this is the money shot you guys were waiting for. Oh yeah, right there. I'm gonna cut it. Oh yeah. You can tell I'm getting excited. I'm throwing things still. Okay, now I'm gonna take this. Look, complicated. Right there. Boom. Listen, right there. Boom. Amazing. That is gonna work better than just about anything you've seen in the aviation industry before. Okay, you ready? Let's see if it works. Do you believe it's gonna work?
Wow.
I can tell the second guessing is happening in her
skeptical.
brain. Don't be skeptical. How many times do I have to prove myself, woman? She's my wife, guys. I love her. Obviously. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this down. Okay, so you see what I did there? Very simple stuff, a little bit of slack. If you make yours and it's too much slack and you're not satisfied, the reason I love this system, so check this out. When you go to pull your battery out, see, it's still giving you tons of good retention. One of the best things you can do is
Now can I be skeptical?
you could be skeptical. Oh, dang it. I knew there was a reason I left the Stickum there. But I think that's why I didn't stay, because I tried to use the spot where the Stickum was still, and it was not very good retention. Okay, so do you want to do a take 2, or are you going to leave my embarrassment
No,
in?
we're gonna leave your embarrassment in.
Son of a biscuit. Okay. So we're going to do this, and I'm going to show you the other way to do it. So I've got them this way. Let's just use this one. Okay, so what you can do is you can take and you can run it at an angle, or you can run it like tight, like this, but just remember that lid is gonna give you trouble going on if you go this way. But the idea is when you do it this way, you can take and slide this sleeve off, okay? Just like this. This one I got tighter because I did it off camera, of course. And then you can turn it so it goes the other way, right? You see what I just did there? Then you can run this either direction. Now you've got a limited amount of Velcro that comes with the aircraft. You see what I'm saying? Then you trap it up against the corner, and that's gonna keep that battery from shifting. I mean, it might shift in a crash, but if it's crashed, you're probably gonna stop and verify things are there. Because that's what I always do when I crash my helicopters, just like the other day.
Stop and verify?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do that for safety
you
reasons.
definitely did.
All right, so anyway, we're getting back to the radio setup. Obviously, the radio setup is gonna require that we do that. Let's talk about CG, because I just picked it up and I'm like, oh, we need to check the CG. All right, so the center of gravity, camera crew's gonna look in the manual. We'll show you exactly where that is. Hey, Brian, get to the radio setup, man. I'm super excited for the radio setup.
This says
Make me wait forever, Brian.
40 plus or minus 4.
Check this out, guys. Look, watch, calipers. That is some science and technology right there,
It
engineering.
looks like there's like a line already there, so we'll have to look and see where it
Let's
actually
just
ends up.
measure it. For
I know,
good
just
measure.
saying.
Look, watch this. Amazing Pittsburgh. That's how you know it's quality. Pittsburgh, made in China. Okay, so what was it, 40 to?
40 plus or minus 4, so 36.
Okay. We try not to do math on camera, guys.
Right.
If you guys haven't picked up on the STEM stuff, if you don't watch Mike Patey's videos, he's like super engineer, like super extraordinary engineer.
He
And
can do math
He's
on
always like over designing things like crazy, and it's awesome. And I get all geeky about that, but some of you guys are probably, if you didn't connect the dots, I wanted to connect the dots for you. Okay, so we're like to the end
So
of
it is gonna be-
the F.
It is going to be right on the...
Hold on, let's just measure. You said 44?
44.
Okay, so 40, 44, good enough. Okay. For those of you that don't know Brian Phillips RC in real life, I am the pickiest, most anal retentive person you've ever met in your life.
Yes.
Except for when we're filming. Okay, I have to try to get things done. Otherwise, my videos will be 5 days long. Okay. Oh yeah, that's gorgeous. Look at that. Right where it fits. Look what I'm doing. Right on the support. Wing strut. Whatever you want to call it. Wing box. That's where its center of gravity's right out. Perfect. Okay, so if you want to fly it a little bit nose heavy, a little bit tail heavy, you can use your best judgment there. But the idea is when you're testing, when you first put your battery in, you can just kind of rest your finger on this rail here, okay? So that worked out really good. And that's not uncommon on scale aircraft to have some sort of a support that you can use to measure your center of gravity, okay? So you don't even need to buy digital calipers, these awesome things. By the way, if you are trying to buy something from, to help support Brian Phillips RC, all you need to do is look in the video description. We'll have the plane, we'll link to the battery and battery choices. And then we'll also link, if you're ever wanting to buy like a supply, like a digital caliper or something like that, we have it in our supplies section on Brian Phillips RC. The camera crew has been updating it to make it super fancy. So if you're on a mobile device, like one of those telephono things, I'm usually using a computer because I'm old school and I'm old too.
Oh, it's just old.
Yes, exactly. So guys, check this out. We're gonna plug this in soon. Oh, we gotta make a
you have to-
profile. You have
yeah.
to make a profile, guys. I'm
Get
getting
a
ahead of
little ahead of
myself. It was the prisoner that was yelling at me earlier.
Oh.
Hey Brian, where's the video? I want the unbox. Cancel. Cancel them back together. Add new model. I don't want to make no stinking heli right now. We're gonna make an acro. Great. So the acro is just what they call that plane thing. It's like a profile template, if you
They
will.
don't call it a plane.
Because it's called an acro, obviously.
Okay.
Which makes sense because it's also like slow sticks and stuff. Okay. Yours will not take this long. Mine does because there's like a million models. This will shut off the radio.
Is this 200? I mean, it's not actually, but numbered.
I don't know. I don't worry about these things because my numbering is screwed up because there's actually models beyond 200.
I know, but it's...
Model name. So I'm going to type this in, 200. All right, so we're going to type this in real quick, the Micro Draco, and we'll be right back. All right, so we have the Draco Micro, and I put 800 millimeters. And the reason I do that is because when I'm scrolling through these like 240 some odd models, it does get a little hard to find the one I'm looking for. So I try to put things like Micro UMX after the fact. So as you can see, it's a Micro Draco, 800 millimeters. But we always put the size class, and I always tell people that, make sure you put the size class so when you get the small one or the big one, you can, have that. Okay, so aircraft type, we're gonna set this up. Now, this is where you can refer back to the manual if you want. And so what I'm gonna do is we're just gonna just show this right here. And then you guys can, pause the screen or whatever it is you need to do. If you're gonna look this over, you can pause it or you can just follow along with us. We're gonna show it all right now.
And
so
the DX and IX is on the next page.
it literally starts on step 1, powered on, and then goes through the list. I'm gonna tell you a much less systematic approach that's gonna be much less helpful right now.
Okay.
So you
The
feast your eyes
squirrel-
on this, the
the
squirrel,
squirrel
method.
method.
Well, yeah, okay. So anyway, I'm gonna go to wing type, and I'm gonna go like this. 1 aileron, 1 flap. You know what would be nice though, Spectrum, if you're listening, if the Airware program was more of like a systematic approach of like step by step, like these are the 7 things you have to set. Boom, 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 boom. It'd be kind of nice. Just saying. Okay, next. I'm not saying I dislike the program. I actually really like the program, but it's,
You have a glare.
Oh, sorry.
There
we
you
go.
Okay.
Okay, so that's close enough. Why don't we have a Draco image? Okay, F mode setup. We're not going to do F modes on this because this is similar to an ultra micro setup, which means it's probably going to be on gear channel. So we might actually reassign this. Now, if you want to have the F mode, you can have the F mode attached to whatever channel is going to be controlling the safe select on off. Okay, so I'm actually going to set up a flight mode. You don't have to do this, but if you want it, you can do it. Okay, so switch D. I'm going to show you how to do it if you want. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk out spoken flight mode. This will show up on your screen. This will be spoken, okay? So if you get that line straight there, camera crew.
I'm trying to get rid of the glare.
Boy, there it is, okay. So flight mode 1, so I'm gonna change this nomenclature by cancel, cancel. It's gonna clear it, and then I'm gonna type in the words AS3X. Okay, so AS3X, and you guys are probably thinking to yourself, but hold on a second. Is there going to be 3 modes? Well, I don't know yet. We'll find that out as we go, and we try not to pull any fast ones on you. AS3X, and then we'll do the spoken portion, which is like way down here, so we'll pause while we scroll. So then we have AS3X mode. All right, so then it'll say it. Okay, then when we flip the switch, we have flight mode 2. Normally I set this to off, but I doubt there's going to be an off setting. Unless it was some terrible joke or pun that I made. That would probably be perfectly offsetting. Okay, and it's actually not going to be off. And by the way, these are just labels. So it doesn't really mean anything technically. This off is way closer to the top. So I'll tell you more about this as we set it. We just have to make an association later to what that switch does. And again, just to be totally clear, you don't have to do the flight mode setup. You don't have to do the audio events. But I like to do them because when you hand a transmitter to somebody, you can see it's in safe or AS3X right away, which is really nice. Cancel, cancel. And then I'm going to scroll in safe, S-A-F-E. And if you guys are brand new to the hobby and you're just following along and you're like, what do you mean I don't have to do it? Watch the whole video. You need to hear all the details, okay? Don't ask right now. Wait till the video's over. Make sure you understand it. We don't want to beat you over the head with this, but the truth is there are a lot of things you need to learn if you're just getting back into the hobby, or if you're brand new to the hobby. We will help get you there on Brian Phillips RC. The videos are tediously long, and we understand that. There's safe mode, sensor assisted flight envelope. That's what that's, sensor assisted flight envelope. Okay. AS3X, artificial stabilization 3 axis. Yes, axis is spelled with an A. It should be AS3A, but evidently that didn't roll off the tongue as good. Okay, so channel assign, I want gear because you can see right here, where do they talk about that? They don't talk about that. I'm assuming it's gear, but we'll come back to that then since we don't know. And the cool thing about the flight mode is that you can go into trim setup and you can actually change the trim type to be like for the different control surfaces. You can do common or you can do flight mode. So you can have trim that's stored within safe or AS3X or off, okay? Now, here's an example of where I would want AS3X off. That SZD54 or the Crescendo or any plane that you would fly that you would want a thermal with. Because like in that SCD, I know we did 637, I think. But either way, what we did was we set up Crow and we set up all these different things with the AS3X and safe. And we want off so that if you're thermaling, you get into this thermal, this like envelope of air that's moving up, and you'll actually see the plane like kick. But AS3X will hide that from you. Safe is using AS3X in the background, but you can actually turn that off too. It's a little bit an unusual setup, but some people want auto leveling, but they don't want AS3X. I don't really know who those people are, but there are people somewhere. Okay, so anyway, these trim types can be turned on so that they are attached then to your flight modes, which is kind of handy, but I don't do that myself. And so I just wanted to show you where that was if you want. Okay, so now I'm gonna walk back out of the menu. We're in the regular Draco mode. First thing we're gonna do is set up throttle cut so we don't cut ourselves. It's currently inhibited. I'm setting it to switch H. Now I'm going to look down here in this little monitor and you can see that it stays at minus 100. Spectrum is minus 100 to plus 100 with 0 being the center of the sticks. There are some different manufacturers that speak of 0%, 100%. Just depends on the manufacturer. Make sure you know which one you're talking about. Okay. Also in Spectrum world, this is usually considered 100. This is usually considered 100% in terms of absolute values, 100, 100, but you can expand that to up to 150% output based on stick positions, both for all these primary flight control surfaces and for other switches, and I'll explain that here in a minute. So you see how it says minus 100, plus 100. Oh, nope, it says minus 100 because our throttle cut's on. Now I turned it off. You can see that this is not darkened, which means that it's currently off. So the throttle is live, like chop your fingers live, right? Throttle cut's now on, which means this little cursor moved over. Watch the cursor, off, on, okay? So it's on because it's darkened. Now, if you want, you can switch that by highlighting this and then clicking. I'm not gonna switch it, and I just wanna point that out. And when you're done with your throttle hold or throttle cut, whether it's a helicopter throttle hold or throttle cut on an airplane, you wanna verify it's working, okay? If you're not sure how to do that, we can walk out of the menu, and then you can scroll over one and you can get a big screen of monitor mode and it shows you all your channels here. And look, it's obviously working because that's staying down low. And then when I turn that off, it jumps up and it goes to live, okay? Now I could calibrate my sticks to get rid of that 98 and it'll go to like minus 100, but who cares, it's good enough, okay? Throttle cut's back on, okay? So then rates in Expo, we're gonna set up our rates a little bit different than what they suggest in 7, 8, and 9. This is just a personal preference issue because you don't really need dual rates. It's just kind of a helpful thing for people. When you're learning to fly, I would suggest you follow my steps and see if you like it because get this, guys. We do the same thing always, unless there's a weird flight controller involved, and then we do what they suggest. That's where we start. We have a doubling of Expo and a reduction in rates. So you can go softer sticks. That's where we start. Or we can go more sensitive sticks. Okay? So that's going to mean that you have very little Expo. If you don't know what Expo is, this is what the chart looks like. And so we're on aileron, so it's this stick on a mode 2 transmitter. So what happens is you can see the 0 to 0, that's in the center. Then when I move the stick all the way out, it goes pretty much, I'm gonna go to the middle mode. So the rates are 100%. See how it says 98 to 98? But then look down here in the center of the sticks, you've got 39 gives you 34. And then right at the middle, you got 26 equals 20. So it's a very small deviation. But what that does is it's like you're moving the stick less far in the middle. And so especially on the rudder channel, it's very tough for people that use thumb style grips to keep that rudder from getting moved. So Expo is really handy on that channel in particular. Also, what you can do is you can still have a maximum deflection, but you have more controllability without giving up that maximum deflection to get away from the tree, okay?
Or the chicken coop.
Or the chicken coop. Thank you, Cam. All right, so aileron, we're gonna go to elevator. We're gonna set that to switch F by exercising the switch. Then we're gonna scroll in 5. Then we're gonna go to the middle setting by exercising the switch to the middle, which also does kind of like what we were talking about in the throttle cut. And then we'll go to the other setting, which is the top setting. We'll scroll in 20, and then we'll bring in rates to 90. Now you're like, hey, but that looks super familiar. It seems like you did the exact same thing on ailerons. I sure did. Guess what? I'm gonna do the same thing again on rudder. And you're like, but Brian, that seems too simple. Why do you do the same thing on all three? Because really, once you get used to a setting, it helps you to have a basis for comparison. Now, if you want to know people, there are people in product development at Horizon Hobby and different companies like that that actually have a lot more experience setting up different models. But we have a good basis for experience because we have so many planes we've done in the past. And I can tell you this, I almost always start here and I almost always stay here. So like about 10% Expo. Now, if I'm doing a 3D plane, I'll do a negative Expo up here, which makes the stick super sensitive in the center. And then I'll have, on some planes, I'll do a little bit more. The key is what you do is you fly, you see how you like it. And if you like, I got to get to the ground, but I need less sensitive sticks to do so, you do it. One flip, one switch, all 3 axes. Oh no, but now I'm slow on my roll axis. You'll get over it because you'll be able to land. Then you make the change to just the axis of control that was too touchy, like the elevator or like the rudder or whatever it happens to be, okay? So it gives you the ability to get back to the ground safely, or it helps you with your ability to get to the ground safely. Remember, what you guys see on Brian Phillips RC is almost always made in flights. Not always, but almost always. And that is, like, for most of us, the hardest flight because, you know, like, you haven't gotten used to the plane. And so I set up every advantage I can get. Okay, all right, coming back to the screen. Okay, so we're at 90%. I'm gonna go back to the middle mode, and that's where we're gonna fly. If you guys want a more thorough explanation of rates in Expo, try doing it exactly the way I set, and then fly the plane, change them, you'll see the difference. It is a very touch-sensitive, subjective thing. You can't just watch somebody do it on a screen. You have to do it in practice. You'll see the difference. Okay, so throttle cut set, you notice I started there too. So it's interesting how that's the third thing. Well, to me, that's like one of the top priorities. Okay. All right, so flap system, we're gonna set that. It's inhibited currently. I'm gonna set it to B. They call out switch D. I'm using D for my flight modes. I use flaps all the time. I wanna be able to get to them all the time quickly, okay? So that's a difference in opinion, but I'm gonna go with my opinion because it's the correct one. All right, so flaps, position 0 is 100, so I'm gonna scroll to the right. Okay, and then I'm gonna set position 2, which is the bottom position, all the way to -100. Now, if you're not privy to the percentage basis, this has 3 positions based on this label. It says position 0, position 1, position 2. So we're in position 0. This would be position 1, and this would be position 2. And you're like, but I don't understand 0. Yeah, I know. We don't start from 0 in our brains, but binary uses only 0s and 1s. Okay, all right. Congratulations, people. You learned something new, or you probably didn't because you've watched many other videos like this. All right, set elevator position to 0%, position 1 to 24, and position 2 to 34. Okay, so 24, and that is a positive value, not an absolute value. You can do negative. Negative would speak to a plane that doesn't have an inboard flap like this. Okay, so inboard flaps deflect down. They have prop wash and different things. It kind of pushes the plane up, which is counterintuitive, okay, if you think about it. But an outboard aileron that acts as a flap, also known as a flaperon, would tend to actually make the plane go down. And so if you're correcting a flaperon, you would put negative values in and you would lift the plane up to counter that impact. On an inboard flap, like what we have here, you would do a positive value, and that's gonna generally bring the nose down to counter the balloon that you get when you deploy flaps, okay? Now that is a lot. Usually I do about 6 and 10. And my rule of thumb is that when correctly deployed for takeoff flaps, it's about 2/3 to 3/4, whatever that value is, okay? So if you get this figured out, you can reverse engineer it. But I usually start with like 6 and 10, 6 and 12, 10 and 16, 10 and 18. Sometimes it's pretty extreme like this. It's very few and far between. That is also highly subjective because if you slow the plane down while deploying flaps, which many pilots do, you may decide you don't like that. I always do it because I fly with flaps all the time. It is like just another flight control surface for me. Maybe not for you, it is for me. Then I wanna change the speed from norm, which would be fast, to like a 2-second deployment. That means that the entire stroke would be 2 seconds. So you flip the switch and you can see what happens right here on the flap. See how it takes time, then it takes time. But you see how fast the aux2 is? It's like immediate. Now aux2 is currently tied to switch B. I'm gonna walk out of the flap system because we're done with that. And I'm gonna go to System Setup, Disconnect RF, and I'm gonna scroll down to Channel Assign, and I'm gonna go to aux2 and I'm gonna unincorporate that from B. Now if I go to monitor mode, you can see what that did. Now it doesn't change aux2, but you can see the delay. Now you notice, I'm gonna just count out loud. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. I'm probably counting I'm probably counting too fast. But the truth is from 100 to minus 100 would be the full 2 seconds, okay? But since we're only moving half, I'm probably counting too quick. And the elevator changes at the same rate as the flaps. That is a humongous flyability feature, guys. And good luck mixing that on an off-brand transmitter. I have tried and failed many times. It should not be hard, and yet it is. Okay? I love that feature. It is a huge feature. It's one of the main reasons that I love Spektrum Airwear, despite what some would consider to be flaws and disagreeable behaviors within Airwear, which is the software that runs on here. I found it to be very good, very user-friendly, way more intuitive than other setups. And that includes the issues that I currently have with it, which are just basically nitpicky things. Like, why does it go in this order? Whatever. Okay, it is what it is. All right, so getting back to the point. So servo setup rates. So we've done rates in Expo, which used to be dual rates in Expo. And then we've done throttle cuts. We've done flap system. And we eventually will need to make an attachment to the plane by binding. So that's going to attach this transceiver, also known as this is a transmitter. That is a transceiver. It's a transmitter and a receiver for telemetry, a transmitter for the control system. And that is also a transceiver in there, and it's called a multi-purpose brick in some cases, but in this case it looks like a receiver because there is also an ESC in there and a BEC. So that is an electronic speed control to run the brushless motor up here, which takes DC from the battery. It controls into like essentially an AC setup here. It's not a variable frequency drive, guys. It's not quite that simple. But what it does is it controls pulses to the different motor segments to step the motor in a stepper motor style configuration until such a time that it's spinning. And it uses these different pairs of poles to run a stator around like that. Pretty cool, huh? So that's a brushless motor, meaning that there's no contact point at the shaft. That would be like the positive and the negative, and that would touch and act as commutator rings, which wear out. Because commutator rings have friction and heat. And when you spin like that, it would not survive long, I promise you. So that's why brushless motors are better than brushed motors. And it's not because you can't make a brushed motor that's good. You can't make a light brushed motor that's good. You can make a very light brushless motor that's very good. But it's also a lot more expensive, more complicated, more windings, smaller windings, more precision windings, more chance for failure, and you have to have the coatings not get scraped by your manufacturer because that would kill one of your windings. So hopefully we've answered all your questions about brushless motors now on Brian Phillips RC. Now, if you look back in there, there's also a BC, a battery elimination or a battery eliminator circuit. Sorry, the prop's in the way. The battery eliminator circuit is portion of the ESC portion of the multi-purpose brick. We call those multi-purpose bricks because at the beginning of the ultra micro kind of world, we had multiple servos on there and that was all you had. And then you had maybe like an aileron servo that came off and it would run the wings. And of course you'd have your rudder and your elevator all on that multi-purpose brick. And there still are to this day multi-purpose bricks that you can purchase that would turn like say a small balsa wood aircraft that you built from Gillows or SIG or something like that. And you can put those in there and you can make your little super small planes fly just like this, which is pretty cool. They're kind of expensive though, just to be clear. But they have the AS3 Exit Safe if you buy the modern ones, which is really nice. You can make that little Gillows kit actually fly good. All right, so getting back to the point, I need to bind this. You guys are freaking out like, hurry up, Brian. Hey, I got this toilet wine all ready. I'm ready to drink it. I want to watch the radio setup. Well, you are watching the radio setup. Relax. Okay, so we got a plug here. See this plug? I will say this lead is not very long on this plane, okay? So you can see what I'm struggling with. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go ahead and pop this battery out. I am supporting this I'm undergirding it with my index and middle fingers here so that I can pull this out. I do not want to damage the plane pulling this battery out, okay? The stupid Velcro came off. My system has failed me, people. It's okay. I still like this system better than having Velcro all over my batteries. And no, I'm not going to change my mind. I'm a super stubborn person. All right, so you see how bind is highlighted, throttle cuts on, throttle stick is down. If this thing starts it's gonna hit me. It's gonna be terrible. Just please don't send me pictures if you get cut. I have been cut one time on all the planes I have. Okay, so you'll notice it's gonna beep a couple of times. It's not gonna initiate because we are not bound to this plane yet. Okay, so I'm just gonna stick that down. That's about where it would be for flight. It's in bind mode, look. Oh man. So I'm gonna go bind right here. Bind. See, it just danced. Bind failed. Okay, hold on, let's try again. I might have taken too long. Bind, bind. There it goes. Okay, so it's giving me an alarm. Don't worry, because you see how it just went up to 16.8? Hit cancel. It's saying overcharge. Well, I'm not worried about overcharge. I'm gonna tell you how to clear that alarm right now. Okay, so drop this down. Okay, we'll just roll this thing back. And actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the plane around so that we can start the rest of the setup. You're like, start the rest of the setup? This is taking forever, Brian. Only because I'm explaining things like brushless motors and BCs, okay? All right, so elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, and I can tell it's in safe because there's not very much throw. So I'm gonna hold this stick down like that. I'm gonna move my gear switch. Oh yeah, you see the movement? That's out of safe, that's in safe. I know from Telltale Signs, I'll explain further how to figure that out in a minute. So I'm gonna click, I'm gonna scroll up to, I'm actually just gonna go like this and show you all the different data that's in here, which is super handy. I'm gonna go to monitor. So you can see the gears moving back and forth, but then my flight modes do nothing yet, okay? They will, okay? I wanna attach those together. So I'm gonna go to system setup. In my case, you don't have to do this step. You can just use the gear switch. It came out of, it went to fail safe. So it's trying to fly in a circle quietly. So I'm gonna go to channel assign. How do we know? Because the radio frequency is off. This is gonna go from gear, is gonna go from A to either flight mode or switch D. I'm gonna do flight mode, okay? So now watch this. Watch this, look at this. Uh-oh, it's backward, okay? So how do we switch that? Super easy, servo setup, travel, reverse, gear. Okay, so now watch this. Out of safe, which means we're in AS3X. Still technically in AS3X, admittedly, they're safe. Okay, so how else can you tell you're in safe is you take your plane, make sure your throttle cut's on, which we'll test that now. Throttle up, throttle down, throttle cuts on, throttle cuts off, and it works. Oh yeah, look at the pros, there's a little flashing light up there, that's so cool. Throttle cuts on. By the way, if you guys haven't seen the lights yet, I have in the counter, I can see it reflecting. So cool. When you're level, it's gonna try to find the quickest route to level. Strobe pattern is different. Beep, 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 beep. Oscillation, oscillation. That is so cool. Okay, so when it's level, the other thing you can do is look at the elevator. The elevator is attempting to bring the nose up. Now it's attempting to bring the nose down, okay? Make sense? All right, so I don't want to fly in safe, but that's how you can verify you're in safe. Now, if you're in AS3X, or in my case, off, which is not actually off, I have given throttle by shutting off throttle cut, giving over 25%, and now I put throttle cut back on. You can see if your directions of correction are the same. And just be careful you don't break off stuff, okay? I'm gonna hold my hand over it because it's small. I'm gonna go up with the wing. Oh, I can see it, give me that. I'm gonna show the people. Checking the direction of control surfaces. You want this to go whatever direction you're going, you want it to go the same direction for countering environmental impact. Up it is, down it is. Up it is, down it is. Now, same thing here. Just trying to hold this for you. Okay, so looking at the aileron, up it is, down it is. And then elevator, I'm gonna try to hold this so you guys can see. Up it is, down it is. Up it is, that's pretty extreme, cool. And then rudder, yaw left, yaw right, or whatever it is. It's going the same direction of the environmental impact, but just keep in mind, environmental impact absent yours. Rudder, look. Even with the rudder kicked, I can tell it's moving slightly, which is pretty good. That must mean there's a lot of stabilization on this. Okay, so that being said, takeoff flaps. Oh yeah. Landing flaps. And you can see that the elevator went down a little bit. Now it comes up and then it goes to neutral. Okay, so that's normal flight mode. Very cool, just like its big sister. And let's check the direction of output from our sticks. Okay, elevator we already kind of did. Up, down, huge elevator. Rudder left, rudder right, and as you can see, steerable tail wheel, very nice, and it drags back here like it would in real life. Roll left, roll right, and there is differential, guys. Look, more up than down, okay? Takeoff flaps, landing flaps, very good. 2-second deployment speed, and if you can't tolerate that noise, I kind of agree, they're very obnoxious, but you're not gonna be sitting here looking at that all day. You're gonna be flying it. I promise you won't care once you're up in the air. Okay, so really cool. We forgot to set a timer, and I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. If you want a timer, I would start with like 5-6 minutes, something like that. So I'm gonna do a 1 out. Anything over 25 is gonna start it. It's gonna clear with the clear key. At 1 minute, I want a voice call out. At 20 seconds, I want nothing. At 10 seconds, I want voice only. And then I want tone and vibrate with a tone every minute thereafter. I'll walk out of the menu. Now that's gonna start as soon as I give throttle, which I'm not gonna give throttle right this second because I don't wanna hurt myself. But even with throttle cut on, it's still gonna start. So I'll hit cancel and then I'll clear it. You can see the little smart status up here. You can see 4.4 volts, that's this. But if you scroll over here, you can see the receiver voltage, okay? And then let's scroll down to telemetry. Let's do auto config and say yes. Okay, so smart battery. Okay, so let's walk out and then we're gonna scroll over. Where is, yes, there it is, 16.5 volts. Yes, it is, definitely. I see. Okay, so now watch the voltage. Now you can also go over one more. Oh yeah, right there is what I wanted. Throttle cut is off. Look at this. You can see the RPMs, you can see the motor, percentage basis output, and you can see the FET temp, okay? Now that will recover because this is a lithium polymer battery. Throttle cuts on. And if you go over one more, there's nothing more, okay? So there, all that stuff is right there. And if you wanna click, you can go down to telemetry. You can go to all these different things and set them up, which is pretty cool. So smart ESC, total cells 4, that is correct. You can shut off your warnings if they're annoying, and they usually are, okay? The low voltage, you can do a tone, you can do voice, you can do tone and vibrate, you can do all sorts of things. I kind of wonder if we just did voice. That'd be kind of cool.
Then you have to listen to her. Like, you have to figure out what she's saying.
Yeah. Well, and there's other alarms too. So we'll just do tone for now. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to see, is there one for a motor, RPMs? Okay, so that's already set. So I'm going to hit back. I'm just going to scroll that to empty. And then I'm going to go back to smart battery. Look at this. I don't care about overcharge. This is non-smart battery. I don't really care about a startup alarm. That drives me nuts. Because what happens is when you first plug it in, you'll note that it will start up with like a warning because it's coming to voltage. When you first land the wire, sometimes it takes like a second for everything to refresh and then it starts with a warning. It's super annoying. However, there are times when, especially if you're new to the hobby, you might put the wrong uncharged battery in, take off thinking you can fly, and it's dead already. I've done that a time or two, but I can usually get back to the ground, usually. Okay, ready? So then in balance, I definitely don't care about that, but it is nice to have the telemetry, okay? And what else do we have? So I'm gonna walk out, I'm gonna go to audio events, telemetry warnings. Oh yeah. So smart battery, we already inhibited those. And you're like, wait, but this looks very familiar. You're right, it is, okay? So we're gonna get a low voltage alarm at 3.4 volts, okay? You can also set this alarm to whatever you want that to be, okay? I don't really care about that myself. Why is this one empty? Feels like there should be one in there, but I don't care. Okay, and you can do all sorts of stuff if you want here. I was just trying to figure out where you put the poles, because everybody they always talk about 12 poles. That's in the manual for the motor, and I don't really care. It's not that big a deal. Okay, so now I'm gonna clear my timer. I'm gonna click, I'm gonna scroll down to forward programming if it exists, which is kind of weird. I don't see forward programming. Main menu. Is there not forward programming on this? That's weird. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just show you one other cool feature on this. Throttle cuts on. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my transmitter. This is not a good idea, by the way. You always wanna keep command and control. Look at this, we have power off transmitter. Yes, shut it down. It's still operating, so it's warning you. You can turn that warning off, by the way, if you want. Haha, went to failsafe. So look at this. It's gonna roll that direction, and then it's gonna basically go in a nice circle. And if it gets blown over upside down, it's gonna self-right. And you also notice that there's no throttle, okay? So despite having started with no throttle, now watch what happens. As soon as I click this back on, watch what happens. Gonna be super cool. And by the way, one of the confusing things on ultra micros and like, this is a micro because it's big, okay? It comes right back to life, okay? You'll also note that with the latest firmware on NX10, I've noticed it's a lot slower startup process. So hope you don't turn it off while you're flying because it's gonna take a long time to get back, but this thing should loiter. Okay, I'm gonna show you what happens if you add throttle because this is kind of interesting. Okay, just a real low throttle condition. I don't wanna overdo it and I wanna have a problem. So I'm gonna shut this off, show you what failsafe does too. We like never talk about failsafe on this channel. Look at that. It's just gonna circle, circle, circle into the giant tree. Okay, throttle sticks down, throttle cuts back on, turning this on. Now you can also do startup warnings that will give you warnings like, hey, your throttle is high or your throttle cut is off and it should be on. And that's super handy. There you are, back to life. Now, if you had enough altitude, it would just still be going in a circle. And it's really cool to have all these features packed into such a small and amazing looking Draco. So special thanks to Mike Patey and his family for putting together such an awesome plane. Obviously, it was a bummer to see that thing ended up crashing, but what an amazing, more capable option in the world to rebuild an even better Draco than Mike Patey. So we can't wait to see what you're going to unveil to the world. And like I said at Horizon, get your laser scan. If you guys didn't know that, they actually laser scanned this plane and recreated it for you and me. So that is so cool and really unprecedented. It's really, really cool to be able to have our hands on such a cool piece of icon in general aviation, if you want to call it general aviation or backcountry flying, than seeing the Draco. So very, very cool. What a sweet plane. We can't believe how much fun these things are. And if you guys haven't ever gotten one, from our links, all you have to do is look at the video description below. There's a link right at the top. There's a link to the battery, and there'll be a link to the transmitter because that's usually what people would be buying on something like this. But if you need stuff like chargers, you know, like we were using the calipers earlier, or tools, we link to that sort of stuff. Barbecue skewers in case you crash into a, you know, chicken coop. We actually literally are linking to those too. And I used a lot of them when I fixed my trip. It was a lot of skewers. But yeah, here on Brian Phillips RC, we aren't afraid to share our flights where we crash and things like that because this is part of the hobby. But I'm gonna tell you this thing, I hope I don't crash it because I am really, really liking it. And I really like my big Draco. It's one of the best flying planes out there. It's very heavy for what it is. And by the way, sub 250 with provided battery. Time to test the truth claims. We're gonna bring out the scale. For those of you that don't know this, I work on industrial scales for a living, which is why I have the world's cheapest, crappiest scale from like Bed Bath & Beyond or wherever we got it.
For the kitchen. Ooh, it's knocking this. You're gonna have to get a jar.
We'll do this. Just gotta make sure I'm not touching something else. 243 grams of pure delight. Guys, that's sub 250. Now, what does that mean for you? If you don't know what sub 250 means, Sub 250 means it's less than 250 grams. Okay, there's some equivalent ounce measurement. I have no idea what it is. Please leave it in the comments below if you're from America. We are.
Could just Google it.
You could Google it if you want. But at this point, if it's below sub 250, if it's sub 250 grams in total all up flying weight, then you actually can fly this without any sort of regulatory oversight, essentially speaking. Now, I'm just gonna tell you this, whatever the rules are, by the time you see this, they probably have changed. And I know most of you are probably just gonna ignore them, and that's totally fine. I don't care, I'm not the authority. I don't want you guys to come to me for legal advice, and that's why we don't talk about it a lot, because things do change and we leave our videos up forever. And so if something changes between now and when you've seen it, I don't want you guys to get in trouble because I told you something. Generally speaking, be safe. Props are dangerous. They do cut people all the time. I don't want to see pictures. If you do cut yourself, please don't cut yourself. Be careful, use caution. Generally speaking, with props, take them off if you don't know what you're doing. I would not take off a prop on a plane this size, but I would on a big plane if I was really concerned. Also, take care that you're not over discharging your batteries or overcharging or charging too fast. Charge at the charging rate that it's supposed to be. If it's a 300 milliamp hour battery, then you'll charge at 0.3 amps, generally speaking. Some people will do 2C, so they'll charge at 0.6 amps or 3C, 0.9 amps. Use your best judgment. If you're charging on a hard flame resistant surface like granite, then you'll have a slight leg up on success. We have fire extinguishers strategically placed throughout this area because we have a lot of batteries. Okay, fire extinguishers would not do well if we had a fire over there, just to be clear. So we know that, and that's why we take precautions that you don't see on camera, but you should do precautions like, hey, if you're living in an apartment, you don't have a hard surface, get a cookie sheet or two, put your charger on that, make sure you're in the room, make sure you're aware of what's going on, charge there. Two biggest safety issues are props and batteries. Not hitting yourself on the eyeball, although I'm sure some idiot has done that. Please don't. Be careful out there. And with respect to regulations, when you see a big plane, yield the right of way. If there's a human in it, they get the right of way. This has not got a human in it, even though it's got a lot of soul and heart in it, okay? And your pride probably attached to it. But just remember, yield to manned aircraft, don't fly around airports, don't fly around forest fires and things like that. And then knowbeforeyouFly.com. I don't ever give free advertising to the federal government, but I just accidentally did it. But you can check it out if you really want to know. This is sub 250. So I'm not going to say all bets are off because some idiot will change some rule someday, but there has been some good news of late. And so if you want to learn about it, the AMA is pretty good about telling us these things. The AMA, of course, the Aeronautical Modeling Association or whatever, I don't know. We like the FCTS, or I might say FCTA, sorry, FCTA.
Yeah.
So that'd be the Flight Test, Flight Test Community Association. Yeah, we like them even better because we felt like they came to the plate. They were with the FAA. They were fighting for us while the AMA was out there doing other things. But anyway, the AMA is also working to protect us to a certain extent now again, which is good. And so we want to give credit where credit's due. Because at the end of the day, we love flying. It should not be a regulated sport, but it kind of is. Regrettably, not if it's sub 250 for most people. So there are some exceptions. But we love this sport. We want to see it grow. We want to see as many people in it as possible, humanly possible. We want to drive down the cost of these things by making it such a big industry that it's like, just makes sense, okay? If you make 1,000 of these, the cost is exponentially higher than if you make 10,000 of these, okay? It does not take a rocket scientist, unless of course you're working on rockets, to understand that. But the truth is, if you're making 100,000 of these, it drives the cost down even more. So the more sales of these beautiful things and those beautiful things, look at that yellow thing back there. You know you want one behind your TV. The more of them they sell, the more likely it is they'll invest in more containers full of them. And yes, that's right. When you're buying containers full of these things, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of cost basis. Guys, if you run a business, you understand what I say when I say this. There are easier ways to make money than making radio controlled airplanes. Let's not punish people that do it, especially, and I'm not talking about imperfections. You can gripe and moan all you want about not having soft enough tires. You know I like soft tires. You know I like LEDs. You know I like inboard flaps. You know I like radio systems. You know I like telemetry. You know I like pack voltage. These are all the complaints we've had for years. Guess what? They're all in here, all of them, okay? No thrust reverse, but that's okay. That's a new thing. And you don't need it on this, and I'll tell you why. Because This is a small plane, it's a bush plane. You can land it on grass if you have short enough grass. Admittedly, there is a certain height that you can get away with, but this thing is gonna be amazing. It's gonna meet all your basic needs. And it's just right there in a box. You got one screw. There's no glue, for God's sake. This is like the perfect answer to so many questions. And yes, the screw does line up. Sorry, I had to say that. But at the end of the day, we want this hobby to win. We want you guys to be part of it. We want you to be winning with us. And so the best way you can do that is buy these amazing planes when you like them. Smash the like button on Brian Phillips RC when you're watching videos, even though they are like way longer than you wanted them to be. Megan, I'm looking at you, cam crew. And also, when you see stuff in the links that are similar to what you want, and you don't find exactly what you want, we don't want you to just buy stuff because you want to support Brian Phillips RC. Buy stuff when you want to buy it to support Brian Phillips RC. You go over to brianphillipsrc.com and you can find something similar to this, or its big brother, sister, whatever it happens to be, okay? We have them sorted by type, by affiliate that we worked with, and so it's really easy to figure out which direction makes better sense. And we will link back to the playlist here on YouTube so you can find it, because we have like almost 2,000 videos right now, and they're not all short videos. I mean, some of these are shorts, like a few of them, like 10, but most of them are like hours long. So you could sit and watch it. You can learn so much right now by just watching what we've already produced, but you understand most of you aren't gonna do that, and you're just gonna watch the latest and greatest, and that's cool too. But don't forget to smash the like button and click that bell when you subscribe so you get notified about the latest and greatest, because we are posting sometimes up to 6 times a week, usually about 2 times a week on average, and on a really slow week, it'll be once. But the thing is, you guys are getting all kinds of RC content right here on Brian Phillips RC. We're gonna help you use this. One of your most expensive tools in the hobby is your transmitter. And yes, I have almost 250 in here, which means I'll be out of model memory soon, which sucks. But it's also great because that means that's a lot of amazing models. And you can learn all sorts of stuff by watching me waffle through setup and talk about why this and why that. And sometimes that waffling will help you work through it. I promise that that will be true for many of you. Now, some of you are gonna be annoyed by that. I apologize in advance. You can click the gear and you can change the playback speed to slow it down if you're brand new, or speed it up if you're a little bit more experienced, but you wanna hear all I have to say and then the hilarious jokes about my flying. So guys, if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. If you're a Patreon supporter monthly, if you're a YouTube supporter monthly, we really appreciate you guys. Thanks for being there for us. PayPal one-time donations and YouTube super thanks one-time. We appreciate all of that. But I gotta say this again, if you're a Patreon, you can usually get a hold of me a little bit easier just because of the way the system works. It's not supposed to be a pay-to-play thing, because we do reply to tons of comments, but we don't get to 100% of them like we used to. It's just impossible. I was spending 2 or 3 days in a row. Like, I'd go on vacation from work, from my day job, and I would spend like 2 or 3 days and I would get caught up, and I'm like, thank God I'm caught up. Well, the problem is then I wouldn't see the replies to those replies. And so if it was a back and forth on a technical question. So anyway, we got to the point where just like, I couldn't keep up. So we had to make a decision, and we made the decision. We're gonna do our very best. But Patreon, totally different story. If you guys are a Patreon supporter, you're pretty much getting comments. So it's not listed as a benefit though, because if you're overseas, we have to charge a VAT for that, believe it or not, which is ridiculous, a value-added tax. And that's anything, anybody overseas understands what that like. Here in America, we would fight wars over that. And yet we have income tax. It's supposed to be 1%. Anyway, sorry, I don't want to get onto that topic right now, because that could go on for hours. But this plane is awesome. Good job, Mike Patey. Good job, Horizon. I love this thing. It's awesome. Even though it's not as big as its big brother, sister, it is really fun. And it's squeezed into a tight package. So if you can't fit that big honking 2 meters of beauty into your house, get this thing instead. Or better yet, get both and make room. Because you can take the wings off of the Draco before you hit the chicken coop with 2 clicker things, and it just slides right out, and you can hide it underneath the fuse. That's what I used to do. And it works really nice. And then you can have those wings back on in seconds, which is very unusual because most big planes like that come apart. It just takes time. All right, so hopefully we have literally answered all your questions. And if you have more, leave them in the comments. We'll do our best to get to them. And guys, thanks as always for watching Brian Phillips RC, for helping to support my wife, who spends probably 50 or 60 hours a week on this channel. I know it seems unbelievable, but she's doing our website, she's doing comments, she's helping me with comments. A lot of times I'm driving, she's talking, she's typing, okay? So special thanks to Megan for putting in all the time. And then also special thanks for this amazing Draco to Horizon and Pades. Thanks, Pades. All right, that's all you got for today on Brian Phillips RC. We've been pumping out the content like crazy this week, and we appreciate you guys rewarding us by buying these things from the links when you do decide to buy, and you will be deciding to buy soon. We have the first bugs of the season here.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think it's a ladybug from last year. It's a leftover. Nobody likes leftovers. Well, I do like leftovers. You can tell from looking at me, but we don't like leftover bugs. All right, guys, Micro Draco 800 millimeters. Signing out for tonight. Thanks for watching, guys. So much more right around the corner at Brian Phillips RC.